Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Just watching the footy, football, soccer, the Americans, as I normally say. Congratulations. Spoiler alert, I don't imagine anyone will be watching live, but you never know. But for anyone who's recording the game, you might want to block your ears. Newcastle won 2-0, so congrats to Newcastle, including anyone watching in the future. But I'm not a huge Newcastle fan, I've got to admit, but I do appreciate that they came out against racism. And most importantly for me, Celtic won 4-0. So I'm hoping we can go on a great run. Hopefully we can beat them, our arch rivals. And I mean, not the next best team, unfortunately, but at the moment, the top of the league, Hearts, drew 2-2. So they dropped 2 points effectively. So I'm glad it's that way around rather than the other way around, to be fair. But hopefully Martin O'Neill can do a great job and show his worth, and we can go forward. And hopefully, I'd love for us to win at least the league, and preferably a treble. And the European games don't really bother me. There's more the domestic games, and then next season we can build and maybe do better in Europe and play more entertaining football and get even better players and work with the money we get. But I'd love for us to be able to give our money away to charity. Like before I get on to the topic of the day, I just want to say I know I've mentioned it in the past on Facebook, and I think I might mention it on YouTube, but when my channel was blocked on YouTube for whatever reason, I probably didn't manage to say it. So I'd love for us to be able to give 10% of our profits, maybe, or revenue even, and be able to get it off our taxes, or even be tax exempt for giving a lot to charity and do a lot for good causes, which hopefully will make a genuine difference, not just something that looks good on the outside, but actually does make a genuine difference. So I'd love for us to be able to give 10% of our revenue and be tax exempt, and also give away any prize money we get to charity. So that hopefully that'll make many neutrals support us at least as a second favourite team, because the more prize money we get, the more we'd be able to give to good causes. And for a football team, it's especially if it was like an English football team, it wouldn't be a lot of money, but for a Scottish team it's quite a lot. But also the good causes we could donate to would really benefit from that. So for instance, if Celtic gets £1 million in prize money for a football club, you'd be lucky to get, you wouldn't be able to get any player in the top flight, even in Scottish football, for that much, I don't think. But nowadays in football, players can go for 100 million in England, but Scottish football still way behind in the money stakes, but could still give you need, like in Scotland, I think it's, I don't know, I mean the amounts are so, it shows a difference, the golf in price. No wonder the golfing class is so much ahead, because I think if you buy a player for like 6 or 7 million in Scotland, that's quite a lot. But so if Celtic win a prize, if Celtic win like £1 million in prize money and give that money away, then that could go towards like buying so many people in Africa technology, tech equipment, and that kind of thing. So yeah, it would be a lot of money. It could like provide a whole classroom with tech equipment and teaching and training materials or whatever, or stationery or things like that. Especially nowadays, so many things are online, like learning about tech and giving each person a PC or laptop and that kind of thing. I mean, most schools in Africa, they don't have a PC for, as far as I'm aware, for each student, let alone. I mean, even when I went to Red Gem School, I suppose it is a bit different, but they didn't have much funding. Like they had one working computer, I think, or 1 or 2 working computers between like almost 100 students at the time. So things like that go a long way. But I would love for us to be able to get sponsors to match what we give to charity. But I often think, like, at one point, I take a bit of a break. I wouldn't say it's complacent, but I think I've got time to take a break between different videos and still think I can get around to finishing that much. But it always seems to be, by the other day, I get around to 3 or 4 videos, and that's generally enough for the day. But anyway, I've gone way off track, I know, sorry. But yeah, I wanted to talk a bit about the footy. But because it's a Wednesday, and I plan to do this, I hope to talk about, I was thinking of things that begin with W, and because it's Black History Month, things to do with W for the black community. I was thinking like the Windrush generation and what they went through. I love to support poets, artists, writers, engineers, mechanics, and and entrepreneurs, did I say entrepreneurs? Entrepreneurs and politicians and whatever from the Windrush generation, especially like entrepreneurs and writers and that kind of thing. But I normally think of different themes for different days. But I love to, as I said in the past, but I love to support people from the Windrush generation in all sorts of ways, like, as I say, poets, artists, writers, entrepreneurs and whatnot, and give them a voice, and maybe the situation they went through with the Windrush generation. Sorry for those who might not know about the Windrush generation scandal, but please Google it if you don't know much about it, or if you haven't heard of it before. But I think African Americans went through like something with the Black Wall Street and that kind of thing, which I'll be covering in February, all being well. Touch wood, as they say. But Black Britons went through the Windrush generation scandal, Windrush scandal. So I think it's something more that Black Britons and African Americans have in common. I'd love for Black and around the world to network together, including with allies like myself as well. Yeah, I want to support Black writers, and I was thinking as well, like another thing, thinking about things that begin with W, like Black women's empowerment, for instance. So I'd love to cover more Black women's writers. In hindsight, I probably would have checked out a list of Black women's writers as well. But I mean, there are quite a few women in this list. But anyway, on the subject of the list, these are writers. I normally say pointers, but in this case, writers, number 21 to 30. And I know I did a really super long intro, so I'm going to try and crack on with it as soon as ASAP and get through these as quick as possible. So here goes. So Paul Gilroy, number 21, Paul Gilroy, and Benjamin. I wasn't sure where to cover Benjamin Zephaniah for 21 because he's no longer with us, so he's a historical background. Some of these maybe no longer with us, but I was thinking of covering contemporary and historical. I think I suppose I put that in brackets and with asterisks, as I often do, because I wasn't sure whether to cover him or not. But yeah, Paul Gilroy, and I've got to admit I haven't really wrote anything about him, but except for his name. But moving on, number 22, Colin Grant, number 23. Mike, couldn't read my writing, I thought it was a W. Mike and Trevor Phillips. I was thinking Mike has a nice name. I'm sure it's Mike, not Wike. I think I put here W-I-K-E, but I think that's supposed to be an M. So yeah, so I can't read my writing. Yes, they wrote a book on Windrush, as it happens. Funny enough, in a way, but I know I've been just talking about Windrush, but also sadly enough because of what they went through in Windrush. But I'd love for people to check out books on Windrush and that kind of thing, and hopefully it'll be a lesson on ensuring that people who are in Britain legally, including in this case people who are encouraged to come and work in Britain to rebuild Britain during after the war, will not be treated so badly and deported and things like that. I mean, to be fair, if someone broken a law, especially if they've done a heinous crime, I think it's fair enough they get deported. I don't disagree with that, and I think people should come in legally and obey the law while they're here. But I don't believe we should join the military. That's what I normally say. But I'd love to support the Windrush generation, as I say, in terms of like poets, artists, writers, and all that kind of thing. I normally think of point number 23. I normally think of like charity, sympathy, empathy, compassion, all that kind of thing. So I thought I'd cover that. Number 24, Robin Walker. I suppose I could have covered him in point number 21 because he is the Black History guy. Normally I think of like 21 again, Black History. The Black History man. Some people he was described as when I checked it on Google. Number 25, Tony Warner, who talks about Black history and the Black History Walks, which I talked about, I think, in part 2. I hope I got his name right, but yeah, Tony Warner. I thought his name was Walker, the surname was Walker as well, but it's Tony Warner, who does the Black History Walks guides. And yeah, I think it'd be cool if they did I don't know if they do this. I don't know much about the Black History Walks, but I think that's where historical links are for where the Black community lived in the past and things like that, historical places for Black Britain. But in this, I think it'd be cool if they visited like Black-owned businesses and seeing how they could support the Black-owned community, like the Black community with like Black-owned businesses and things like that. I don't know if there are any Black-owned banks in Britain. like there are in America. Maybe they could learn from America, like buy black, bank black, and things like that. Please would be nice. Hashtag please bank black and hashtag please buy black. I say please be replied. But anyway, but yeah, Tony Warner, who does Black History Walks, and he's also a writer. Number 26, Adrian, I think it's Adrian Yabusa from Central Africa. I wanted to see more from Africa as well. No, I mainly wanted to focus on Britain, and I didn't want to focus too much on African Americans because I'm hoping to cover that in February, as I said before, with the poets and the artists over the last 2 weeks as well. Number 27, Nadifa Mohammed. Number 28, Precious Williams. Number 29, I remember again, Urasa Daly Ward, YRSA, I think it's spelled, and Daly, DALEY, and then Ward. And finally, for this one, it took me a bit longer than planned, because I normally like to keep these down to 10 minutes, but I know I do have a habit of waffling. But number 30 is, again, I've got to read my own writing, Ben Ockery. Ben Ockery. I said before, last week, about how I'd love to give this notebook as a gift to the black community in Britain and maybe even globally, to talk about black empowerment and empowerment through networking and supporting each other, and maybe including through allies like myself. But I might have to decipher the code within such. But something else I was saying, I've completely forgotten. Hopefully when I go for my shower, I'll refresh my thoughts. But yeah, supporting black-owned businesses and people from the Windrush generation, supporting people from the Windrush generation to be involved in poetry, art, and writing. And I think what I was going to say actually is, I was wondering if the situation with the Windrush scandal could convince. I was going to say that a bit earlier, but I thought I better get on with the list because I was running behind schedule, which I have done. I'm still behind schedule. In fact, it took me just over 10 minutes. Well, that was almost 13 minutes or whatever. Or 12 minutes, 12 and a half minutes, but anyway, just under 12 and a half minutes. But yeah, I wonder if that could inspire people to want to become lawyers and get involved in politics. I do beg your pardon. I wonder if that could inspire more Black Britons, especially from the Windrush generation and their families, to want to become involved in law in terms of lobbying, getting involved in politics, becoming politicians, at least forming their own black lobbies, networking with other black people in Britain and around the world, and working with immigration. What's wrong with my speech? Sorry, immigration lawyers, and working with other minority groups maybe, and network together, and learning about the law, and becoming solicitors, and things like that, so that they can make sure that they get more rights. I wonder if that scandal could inspire them to work together, as I say, politically, to form political lobby groups, as I say, to get involved in politics as politicians, political lobby groups, and groups like that, and pressure groups, lobbyist groups, as I say, and legal groups, getting involved in becoming solicitors, and maybe showing like what black people can achieve, and showing that they do things legally and network together and things like that. They can do things legally and network together and achieve great things, supporting black-owned businesses. Again, hashtag please buy black and hashtag please bank black. And on that note, I'm out, and peace and love.